Well, thank you for joining us again for another edition of A World of Hurt. We're in the series now. We're on number 4. That's where we are today. We're going to be talking about hurt caused by sacrificial service. But I want to welcome you and thank you for joining us. We have a lot of things to cover in this series. I hope you'll look at this kind of like a training, not just simply a class, that there will be things that you will kind of study, that you will take in, that you will remember so that you can be better equipped to handle the hurt that comes into your life. It's not whether or not we're going to have hurt. We already have it. Every one of us experience hurt in various forms: physical, mental, emotional, spiritual. There's all kinds of hurt in this world. And every one of us have to deal with hurt on a daily basis. Some of it is remote. It may have to do with things happening in the world at large. And other things, of course, are very, very personal to us. But knowing how we are to understand hurt and how we are to handle the hurt that is in this world is invaluable to us because, again, we must deal with it. We must recognize it every day of our lives. And so, again, thank you for joining us, and we're going to look again. We've been investigating the 3 different kinds of hurt, and I've only kind of dealt with 3 different kinds of hurt. One kind is the hurt that's caused by our own actions, the hurt that we bring into our own lives. And we do a lot of that. We sometimes are our own worst enemies. But also there are hurts that are caused by other people, the injustices of life, things that we may be innocent in, but we get hurt because of others. And then there's the hurt that we're going to talk about today that I call the hurt caused by sacrificial service. Hurt caused by sacrificial service. And though similar to the hurt of injustice, this one has an added feature. One subject to injustice may simply be minding his own business, but the one giving sacrificial service is trying to help and still gets shafted. This is the one who suffers for doing good. It is the person who steps in between the victim and the bully and gets hurt. This is the person who is in a neighborhood to deliver food to the poor and gets caught in a gang crossfire. This is the person who travels to a remote part of the world to educate poor natives in how to have clean drinking water and who contracts malaria. This is a person who volunteers to serve as a first responder and is targeted by someone who wants to make a political point. We say they were just trying to help. It could be a person who falls in love, marries his sweetheart, works long hours to provide a home, and remains faithful to discover that she is having an affair with his best friend. It may be a single mother who works 2 jobs to take care of her children, only to find as they grow up that they are ashamed of her because of her lack of education and lack of accomplishments. This is a flag-draped coffin. This is a civil rights leader assassinated by a lone gunman. This is a teacher who jumps in front of his students just during a school shooting. This seems particularly unfair. It is made worse when the one who caused the pain does not suffer an equal amount of consequence. We might wonder why we should even bother sacrificing for others if this is how it will turn out. We might abandon our noble efforts and just stop caring. Or we might allow God to leverage our hurts to accomplish more than we ever could alone. Jesus himself is the one who demonstrated this kind of sacrificial service to mankind, offering himself as payment for our sins and the sins of those who have hurt us. Through this one day of suffering, the righteous for the unrighteous, he demonstrated the eternal value of forgiveness in the face of a world of hurt. Hurt caused by sacrificial service. And though it is similar to the just plain old injustice, this hurt is really about people who kind of sign up for it, knowing that there is a strong possibility that if they sign up, they're going to get hurt. When we volunteer to step into a particular arena, like first responders or soldiers, there is an inherent risk of hurt in this arena. And so sometimes we call these people heroes. Sometimes we call them martyrs. We call them people who want to dedicate their lives to the service of others and in the process end up getting hurt themselves. A crucial question that we need to ask in this regard: what are you willing to die for? You know, there are many good causes in this world, but many of us are willing to die for certain things. Now, none of us really want to die, I don't think. Most of us do not have a suicide wish. But there are things that we are willing to give our lives for because we believe that they're that important. When my daughter was born, I realized that if anyone tried to hurt her, that I could do anything, including taking a life or even giving up my life to protect her. There is no doubt, and I would still do that today for all of my children, not just for my oldest. But I would do it for her. I would do it for my wife. I would do it for my boys. I would do it for a lot of different people. I would give my life to save their lives because there is something inside of us, many of us, who says life is important and it should be protected, even to the extent of giving our own lives. But that brings hurt into the world because many times we don't just get killed. Sometimes we get injured. Sometimes we suffer a great deal of pain because of the love that we have for other people. You know, after 9/11, the armed forces recruiting offices were overrun with young men and women who wanted to volunteer for combat duty because someone had to pay. Someone had to pay for the many lives, over 3,000 lives that were lost on that day, the destruction of property, and the humiliation that we felt on that day by being sucker punched by an enemy that wanted to remain somewhat anonymous. But our young men and women stepped up to the plate, and there was probably too many to take into our service. I've been involved in planning 9/11 remembrance events on at least a couple of occasions, and I have never seen greater expressions of patriotism than at these events. One of the most inspiring movies that was ever made, in my opinion, is a movie called Hacksaw Ridge. It's the story of Desmond Doss, who was a Seventh-day Adventist. He was a conscientious objector. He did not believe in carrying a gun and taking up arms against others, and he had his own personal story about that. But he found himself in the military, and he was dispatched to the Battle of Okinawa, where, as a medic, he rescued almost single-handedly 75 men, lowering them down by a rope one by one while he himself was injured. He is certainly a hero of that World War II, and we will remember his name. But he is a man who gave sacrificial service, and he hurt. He probably carried those wounds with him for the rest of his life. Tales of sacrificial love inspire us all to do better, to become more selfless people. But each story comes with great personal risk of hurt to the one who is making the sacrifice. So why does hurt exist in this world? Some of the hurt, not all of it, but some of the hurt comes because we decide to love someone. And when you decide to love someone, you're setting yourself up to get hurt. Love for God and others, the greatest commands. Greater love has this than no man. Greater love has no man than this, than to lay down his life for his friends. But what about the one who is willing even to lay down his life for his enemies? That is crazy sacrificial love. During the first century and even today, there are many who are persecuted because of the cause of Christ. There are many who are martyred in the first century and today and all in the middle of those centuries who gave their very lives because they believed in the spread of the gospel of Jesus Christ. And they were not only tortured and persecuted, but they were killed for their faith. Even when we marry, when we have children, when we take a job that is about serving other people, we open ourselves up to getting hurt. Hurt that comes from sacrificial love is a special kind of hurt in this world. And it's a very real hurt. Sometimes it's a hurt that is satisfying in the sense we know we did the right thing and the person is appreciative of what we did for them. But there are many times that we offer sacrificial service and the people that we actually serve don't care. They're going to treat us badly. We're experiencing some of that in this country right now. We see policemen and first responders who will go out and they will put their lives on the line for the citizens of a particular town or county, only to not be appreciated by the people that they're serving. That's sacrificial love. Now, Jesus himself is the standard of this kind of hurt. He left heaven. He came to this cruel world where he had to suffer, just like the rest of us, for all kinds of things, and voluntarily went to the cross to save every person who has ever lived. He endured the beating, the scorn, the embarrassment, the torture, the nails, the crown of thorns, and the weight of sin of the entire world. He certainly offered sacrificial service to all of mankind. And those who followed him often shared in his suffering for his sake. Jesus, of course, is the standard of how do we go through that suffering. What did Jesus do on the cross as he hung there and being ridiculed and being mocked and being tortured? What did he do? What did he say? Of course, you remember one of the words of Jesus was, "Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do." See, we're trying to learn how to handle hurt that comes into our lives because of sacrificial service to others or to God. How do we handle that hurt? Jesus is the example for all of us in how he handled the hurt. You ever heard of Schindler's List? The film follows Oskar Schindler, a German industrialist who, together with his wife, Emil, saved more than 1,000 mostly Polish Jewish refugees from the Holocaust by employing them in his factories during World War II. You see, Schindler had contracts with the Nazis to produce certain goods for them. But Schindler was not in favor of the war, and he certainly was not in favor of the extermination of the Jews by the Nazis. So he leveraged his position in order to alleviate some of the hurt in this world that was being perpetrated on the Jewish people. And so one by one, he would hire these Jewish people to work in his factory, and he would make work for them. He didn't have necessarily enough work for all of these people, but he wanted to save as many as possible. The workers at the end of this experiment, the workers gave Schindler a signed statement attesting to his role in saving Jewish lives, and they presented it to him with a ring engraved with a Talmudic quotation. And here's the quotation on that ring: Whoever saves one life saves the world entire. Whoever saves one life saves the world entire. In other words, sacrificial service, even for one person, is an indication that the world is worth saving. The world is worth the sacrifice. Schindler is touched by their expression of appreciation, but he's also ashamed. And he feels that he should have done even more. And he breaks down and he sobs and he's comforted by the workers that he saved. You know, we recognize sacrificial love. We honor first responders. We honor those who have given their lives in sacrifice for our country. When they come back, we give them a hero's welcome, and we give them certain burials that indicate how proud we are of them for their service. We have even certain cemeteries that are reserved just simply for these people who have served their countries and for their spouses, because we want to honor them in a special way. We distinguish them from others. Sacrificial service is one of the highest forms of service that we will ever render in this world. And when we do that, we're going to get hurt. We're going to suffer. So how do we allow God to leverage that hurt for our good and for the good of those in this world? You know, sometimes people come back from a war, and sometimes they're maimed, that they are wounded, and sometimes they don't handle that very well. Sometimes they're not well appreciated by the people that they have sacrificed for. But we see in our society people who work with these folks, these veterans, and try to help them to recognize the value of not only their service, but the value of their lives, and how important it is for us to honor them and to find ways to help them to continue to be useful and helpful, and to use the pain and suffering that they've endured in order to go on and help other people. And when we see that, it's inspiring to us, because we see people who have overcome the hurt of this world. But God can help us do that. God is the one who pushes down on the lever and can move the world of hurt that we are in. Again, sacrificial service. I honor today all of the people around us in our world who have given up their lives or who have suffered greatly just simply to help other people. I hope you'll go to and subscribe to our YouTube channel, which is Central Sarasota Church of Christ, and you can subscribe there, and you can go to our website, centralsarasota.org. You can find all of these links to everything that we do, everything we produce, and you can find these things archived. Thank you for joining us today. I look forward to seeing you again next week.